Did you know that right now, beneath the White House, a secret operation is taking place that could rival even the greatest mystery stories ever told? To prepare what appears to be an ordinary meal, it can involve more than 30 people, a 96-hour operation, and security procedures so intense that they might seem more complex than maintaining a nuclear missile. Yes, the security surrounding a U.S. president's food is no joke. It may sound unbelievable at first, but in a moment, you'll understand why. So today, let's take a look at what President Donald Trump likes to eat and how a highly coordinated operation helps ensure that every meal reaching him is as safe as possible. Deep inside the White House complex, the process begins long before any food reaches a plate. In a secure basement area, a chef studies an enormous spreadsheet with complete concentration. At first glance, it looks less like a menu and more like a military battle plan. Every detail is mapped out. Which ingredient will arrive at which exact minute and second? Which oven will cook which dish? And the precise temperatures required for dozens of different menu items that must all be completed at exactly the right moment. A master chef, along with nearly 30 kitchen staff members, works together to prepare what may be some of the most carefully monitored food in the United States. But before this entire operation can even begin, everything depends on one bird. Yes, a single turkey, but this is no ordinary turkey. In many ways, it is one of the most important birds in America. Imagine this scene. A massive turkey is walking through the elegant marble lobby of the Willard Intercontinental Hotel in Washington, D.C. It may very well be one of the most expensive guests the hotel has ever hosted. The National Turkey Federation reportedly reserves separate luxury rooms for these birds, spending thousands of dollars to ensure their comfort. The rooms are prepared with protective flooring, dedicated feeding stations, and teams of caretakers working around the clock. Day and night, staff members monitor every detail, making sure these birds receive royal treatment before they take part in one of America's most unusual traditions. And this is where the real story begins, because these aren't ordinary turkeys. By the time they arrive in Washington, some of them can weigh close to 45 pounds, nearly 3 times heavier than a typical wild turkey. They are selectively bred to have a large, impressive appearance, making them look remarkable on camera. But there's an ironic twist. Many of these birds are not nearly as agile as their wild relatives. And that's not all. For months before their big day, they undergo a unique kind of preparation. They're gradually exposed to bright camera flashes, sudden loud noises, and large crowds of people. The goal is simple: keep them calm under pressure. Some caretakers even play music around the birds. Certain types of classical music appear to have a calming effect, while louder or more intense sounds can make them noticeably more restless. But behind the scenes, there's another detail that rarely gets mentioned. Before any public appearance, the birds receive extensive health and safety inspections. Handlers carefully examine every aspect of their condition, making sure they're healthy, presentable, and ready for one of the most heavily photographed moments of their lives. And then comes one final precaution. In the hours leading up to the ceremony, their feeding schedule is carefully managed. The reason? Simple. When you're standing just a few feet away from the President of the United States during a live national broadcast, nobody wants an unexpected incident to become part of television history. So every possible detail is planned in advance. Every risk is minimized. Every variable is considered. But while the public remains fascinated by these celebrity birds, an entirely different battle is unfolding elsewhere, inside the White House. At 5 o'clock in the morning, the kitchen comes alive. Within minutes, it transforms into something that feels less like a restaurant and more like a combination of a high-tech laboratory and a military command center. This is where precision becomes everything, and where one of the most extraordinary food operations in the world truly begins. And yet, not a single dish has been cooked. So far, this has all been about security. Before any ingredient can become part of a presidential meal, it must pass through a series of rigorous screening procedures designed to minimize every possible risk. Every ingredient is carefully tracked. Where did the vegetables come from? Which farm supplied the meat? How was it transported? Who handled it along the way? The journey of every ingredient is documented and reviewed long before it reaches a cutting board. In high-security environments, supply chains matter. A great deal of attention is paid not only to the food itself, but also to the people and companies responsible for delivering it. The goal is simple: maintain complete confidence in the integrity of every item entering the kitchen. Once deliveries arrive, another round of inspections begins. Packages are examined for signs of tampering. Inspectors look for damaged seals, unusual markings, punctures, or any indication that a container may have been opened during transit. Nothing is overlooked. From there, ingredients may undergo additional safety checks and quality control procedures. Temperatures are verified, storage conditions are reviewed, and food safety standards are enforced with extraordinary precision. Only after passing every required inspection can ingredients move forward to the next stage of preparation. At that point, they are transferred into the carefully controlled environment of the White House kitchen. And that's when the role of the chefs becomes far more than simply cooking. Because in a place like this, every meal is treated as a mission. The chefs are not just culinary experts, they are also guardians of an incredibly strict process designed to ensure that every dish served to the president meets the highest possible standards of safety, quality, and reliability. From the moment an ingredient enters the building to the second a finished plate reaches the dining table, it passes through layer after layer of oversight. Every step is monitored, every detail matters, and every precaution serves one purpose: protecting the person who occupies the most powerful office in the world. For example, imagine a freshly grilled steak prepared for the president. The moment it leaves the cooking surface, kitchen staff verify that it has reached the required food safety standards. Temperature checks are performed. Quality checks are performed. Nothing is left to chance. The same attention is given to every item on the menu: soups, vegetables, side dishes, and even desserts. Every component must meet strict standards for both safety and quality before it can move on to the next stage. If something isn't quite right, whether it's temperature, texture, or presentation, it is corrected immediately. There is no room for shortcuts. In some cases, team members focus exclusively on final quality control, carefully monitoring dishes before they ever reach the dining table. Their responsibility isn't simply serving food. Their responsibility is making sure every plate is prepared exactly as intended. Then, after hours of preparation, inspections, coordination, and planning, the operation reaches its most critical stage. Late at night, deep inside the White House kitchen complex, an oven timer suddenly breaks the silence. The main course is ready to begin its final journey. From that moment forward, timing becomes everything. Every minute matters, every movement is coordinated, and every member of the team knows exactly what must happen next. Even a small disruption can trigger an immediate response because precision is the foundation of the entire operation. But here's something many people don't realize. When it comes to personal meals, presidents of the United States generally pay for their own food. Meals consumed by the first family are not automatically covered by taxpayers. Instead, records are kept and expenses are tracked. At the end of a billing period, the costs associated with personal meals and household consumption are accounted for and charged accordingly. It's a system designed to maintain transparency and ensure a clear separation between official government expenses and personal ones. And when you think about it, that's pretty remarkable. The most powerful person in the world still receives a bill for dinner. Finally, the meal arrives, the plate is placed on the table. The operation that began many hours earlier has reached its destination. President Trump sits down to eat. Perhaps he enjoys the meal quietly. Perhaps he offers a brief compliment, maybe a simple smile. What he may never fully see is the enormous amount of planning, coordination, safety procedures, and effort that took place long before that food ever reached his table. When the meal is over, the president moves on to the next responsibility of the day. But back in the kitchen, the staff finally allows themselves a moment to relax. Another mission completed, another day successfully finished. Yet the break doesn't last long. Because preparations for the next meal have already begun. In the White House, every meal is more than just food. It's an operation, a carefully orchestrated mission hidden behind closed doors. And the story unfolding behind the scenes is often far more fascinating than most people could ever imagine. Because inside the White House, every meal is a mission, and every mission begins long before the first bite is ever taken.